name is Dr. Sanjeev Ganguly. And Professor, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the area that you work in?
Sure. My name is Ellen Demerath, and I'm a professor in the Division of Epidemiology and Community Health at the University of Minnesota in the United States. And so my research is really in the area of maternal obesity and its impacts on the infant. So my background is in epidemiology and in human biology and in anthropology. So I come from a very broad background. And so what we know is that, unfortunately, child nutrition is still a very big problem. And so the research that I'm doing is trying to understand the early life origins of obesity and identifying aspects that we can alter to reduce that problem.
What about this research really prompted you to do this study? What were the research gaps that you really saw?
Right. Well, so the research came out of the realization that even though we thought we were doing well with child obesity kind of decreasing, unfortunately it's still increasing. And so right now, for instance, in the United States, there's at least 20% of children that are obese, and that's increasing at a very early age. So we see even toddlers who have a very high rate of obesity and increasing weight gain during the early years. And so that leads us to think about, well, what are the early life factors? Factors, for instance, in the mother while she's pregnant or while she's lactating that could be influencing the child's growth. So it came out of that understanding that there's a transgenerational issue where children are becoming obese at an early age and it's influenced by the parents. So for instance, we know that children who are born to obese mothers have a 3 times greater risk of obesity themselves. And so that led us to think about all of the different ways that that obesity can be transmitted from the mother to the infant. So there's been a lot of research that's been done on factors in utero, so prenatal factors that are influencing this, programming. There's also a lot of research on low birth weight and high birth weight. But we decided to look at another issue, which is the breast milk. So that's another link between the mother and the infant that needs to be more fully understood, because right now we know that breast milk is very complex, but we really don't know all the things that are in the breast milk that can be translating the obesity risk from the mother to the infant.
Could you give them something from an impact of the study, how they should look at this, and what are the core messages that they should keep in mind during the clinical practice?
Well, so the study is really very basic science at this point. As I said, we're trying to really understand all of the factors in milk that vary between women and how that influences their offspring, their children's growth and development. And so that's a really huge field. That's a really big perspective. And unfortunately, at this time, a lot of it is kind of at the basic science perspective. But I would say that from a clinical perspective, what we're doing is we're recruiting very healthy women and their infants. So we're sort of describing breast milk from a standpoint of what's normal and how should breast milk look. These are women who have excellent prenatal care. These are women who do not smoke, who do not use alcohol during pregnancy or lactation. These are women who are exclusively breastfeeding. And so we're sort of getting a picture of what is very normal variation in breast milk. But with the added information about what's different between the breast milk of obese women and non-obese women. I mean, today, obesity is very typical, so I wouldn't consider it abnormal, but it's just important for us to know what are the differences in the milk depending on the mother's obesity or how much weight they gain during pregnancy, or in fact, how much weight they lose after they give birth. All of that can influence the milk. And so the studies that we're doing right now are on all of those factors. So I think that the information that the clinical practitioner will take away is more just the understanding that breast milk varies by woman, that can be influenced by the mother's metabolic status, and that we're trying to understand how to explain whether that matters for the infant. So one of the other papers I'm giving this session of the Nutrition and Growth Conference here in Paris is about how those factors in milk, for instance, leptin, adiponectin, insulin, and cytokine levels influence the growth of their offspring. And so it's really a basic science question right now, but ultimately what we want to be able to do is to identify modifiable factors in milk that we could perhaps alter through maternal dietary supplements or other means to alter the milk so that it is optimal for the infant's growth.
And how do you feel about the vast amount of nutrition resources that we provide to all the researchers and healthcare professionals?
So the Nestle Nutrition Institute is really well known for how international it is in scope and the investment that NNI has made in research, which is really impressive. So I come from the United States, but the conferences that NNI puts on are international in scope. And so a big benefit for me personally is that the investigators and the speakers that come together for the conferences, for example, here at Nutrition and Growth, but others, I've attended conferences that are supported by NNI in the United States, the Pediatric Academic Societies, Experimental Biology, or Nutrition 2018 I'm going to this year. All of that really brings together an international group of people, so it allows me as an investigator to network with people around the globe. There's fascinating research in my area around milk right now. And so, you know, I'm able to talk to people in Switzerland and in Africa and in India and in Southeast Asia and Latin America, as well as North America. And so it's really amazing for me to be able to have that sort of international view of nutrition, I think is a big benefit to me, as well as also NNI is a leader in developing teaching materials, educational resources for people around the globe to kind of get a quick look at what is cutting edge, up and coming in the nutrition for children and infants.
Thank you very much for your time, and congratulations once again for this excellent winning of this Best Abstract for Nutrition and Growth.
Thank you.
Thank you.